situation way differently than the way it is. Just take a step back and analyze. I don't know what's
To have to look at different perspectives
perspective.
and also see that there may be different reasons, even if they are like the alien from outer space. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it is, because it just shows you that even though something sounds realistic, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. And so you're giving different perspectives to a situation rather than the general assumption that you normally fall into, which is a negative assumption that either makes you feel depressed, sad, or makes you feel angry.
Should try to look for different reasons to
That gives you more
comfort.
peace.
Okay.
Okay, that helps you to, so it said work on something that towards your values, something that you value, right? So if I asked you what are things that are important that you consider valuable to you, or something of value to you, like what are your values, what is important to you?
Does it have to be a thing or
No, like values, like when you talk about
Values.
values, you talk about things like, okay, courage,
my respect?
or
I guess.
respect, or honesty, or justice, or
Oh,
kindness, or compassion, or
transparency.
okay,
Pure
transparency.
transparency. Like even if it doesn't, like for example, even in a friendship, I don't have to ask for the person to tell me something like that. It should come out, I guess, on their own. So transparency and
So when you say
Yeah,
transparency, are you meaning transparency is that what you see, what the person inside and the person outside are the same, and that they are open?
even if the truth hurts, don't pick out the lie just to comfort me.
So that is your value. So that now you have to think that that is my value. It may not be someone else's value. So for you, being, no matter even if the truth hurts, you would want to say it.
I would want to know it.
Okay, and you would want to also say it.
Yeah.
If it's you, your being,
Oh, yeah.
transparency is your value, right? So you value means that you would want to be whatever, that you're open, you're an open book, that everyone knows exactly who you
Yeah.
are. And that's important. So you work on that value, that you are transparent. Or do you want that to be for other people and not
so
for
now
you?
I'm thinking, because she also said when you have to also adjust yourself, because what you want, you
It's
also
what
have to-
your value, but so it's what you value. So for example, you value for people to be transparent with you, but if you're not ready to be transparent with others,
I think I am ready,
so
but
then how your expectation is,
it's not realistic.
yeah, it's not realistic, because you first have to start with yourself. So it's something that you value means that it's holy grace. So if you value honesty as an important value and you want people to be honest with you, is that something that for you, being honest
I
is
think
important?
I think yes, it is very important. But then sometimes I think I drift away from that, unless and I sometimes tend
So
to
so in that sense, what are the things that you value, that you hold very dear to you, that is like, and that you also see when you move towards your values or you work on your values, it's not like goals. Goals keep changing, right? You set a goal, you achieve a goal, it's done, and then you move to the next goal and it's done. A value doesn't change. A value is constantly growing also. You are growing with your value. So you're moving towards your value. It's like you're on a journey.
loyalty, I guess.
Okay, loyalty.
Respect is something very big to me, I can say.
So,
And I would give it as well.
so looking at your values, how would you then look at the situation, okay, and work on where it's more towards your values? So for example, your first assumption generally is to think of the worst case scenario that could be possibly happen, okay, or that it's like they ditched me, or something's happened, or they are against me, or they are treating so and so better than me, or they are not my friend anymore. It would be, say, that is the thing that would immediately jump to your conclusion. You work now more towards your values, like loyalty or respect. So how would you look at it that would give people more respect and give you also more respect? How could you see other perspectives for some of this? Okay, so let's look at an example. Just think of something that really upset you just in the recent last week.
Yeah, I had one directly in mind. I think on Monday. You want me to tell it?
No, you can even think. You don't need to. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, you don't need to. But you can think about it and then do the same exercise
I
around
got
it.
very, very pissed, and it happened in our principal's office, and I just left the office, and I didn't speak a word to anyone. There were a
Okay.
couple of students there. Then I think this one guy told me to shush, and I was already mad with him the previous evening, because there were some messages going on WhatsApp, and I was trying to put out a point. It was something about the Bible. I was trying to put out a point like, you should focus on yourself without judging others and stuff like that. And they all turned it into a joke, and I got so pissed. And I just put the chat, I closed the chat, said good night and all that. But the next day I was still, that's so bad.
Yeah, that's okay. So,
I was still a bit, very upset the following day. My mood was not the best. I was also a bit harsh with people, like even who are not involved with anything related to that. But then I let that be. But then I had to go to the principal's office for some photos that were being taken, and we were all trying to discuss on something like that. And then this guy was also there who pissed me off really hard, and he told me to shush because I said something, and he was like he's 2 years younger than me, but he said shush. That's all he said. He was like, wait a minute. I was like, I got so mad, and I just left the room.
okay, so now look at that scenario. What made you get angry?
Well, I was already pissed the previous day because no one was listening.
Okay.
Everyone was turning it into a joke, and I thought that all of them were like, I don't know, immature babies for a minute, because they were not trying to understand the point that I was trying to put out.
So
But
you were frustrated with the previous day's this thing, and that you carried on to the following day, and so you were doing something at the principal's office, and then they also were doing something at the principal's
we were
office.
all there for one purpose,
Okay.
but then
And what was it that made him say shush? Did you say something? Or?
so David was on a phone call trying to check with what this one person tried to say, and I already got the message basically from that certain person, and I was trying to convey it to him, but then he wanted to get it directly. But then I was like, oh, but then she told me. I was like, wait a minute, and then this other guy was like, shush, let him just call the person. I was like, okay.
Okay, so think of other reasons. Okay, so you were angry and you were frustrated the previous day. You felt already that they were not listening to you, and now you came to the principal and he was wanting to check on something, and then you were offering your sense, and then this guy says shh. In other words, he says shush, let him do what he has to do. Can you think of how would you work towards a value of respect yourself and that person and David, the principal, all of those in that situation? What kind of assumptions could you make to reduce the anger and to think of?
I already, that same morning, I already burst out to David, because I was like, I want to leave this group that we're in, because it's an organization that we have. So I was like, I want to leave this, they're so immature and stuff like that. So he already knew what was going in my mind. So I he was not affected with what I had to say basically, but then I think it left question marks on everyone else in the room because I just left because he mentioned to this boy that he's getting under my skin right now, and he already knew that I was gonna get upset because I already opened up to him saying that okay, this I'm not very pleased with this. But then I think I left question marks to everyone else. Yeah. What was
Yeah,
the
so
question again?
the question was, how would you, instead of you responded in anger and you waltzed off from the room.
I didn't want to
So,
say anything.
so how do you think you could have changed the feeling to a more positive or more peaceful one, or more one towards your, what you value, okay, in terms of respect? What kind of, how would you reframe the thought that came to your mind, which would have probably been like, did this ever listen to me, or like, how dare he tell me, or whatever the thoughts that came to your mind, how would you change the way, or the thoughts, like we just looked at the video, and reframe those thoughts so that it gives you a more towards working towards your value and a less damaging or strong response like anger and walking out? What alternatives would you have thought of?
He's probably it's probably just a joke. This guy does like to joke very often. So
Did he
it's
say
probably not
what-
serious. It's just something that I don't know, thoughts that just popped up in his mind and he just put it out without thinking through. So it's not very serious. I don't know, something like that. It's not something to think about.
Okay, so you said that your principal was trying to call someone to talk to them directly, but you kept saying, no, but I already got the message and I already know.
Because he was already asking, does anyone know?
But
Yeah.
all the others are sitting there, and he said, but when you made your first attempt to say that you know, your principal said, no, but I want to hear from that person directly, is it?
No, he was asking all of us. He was like, does anyone know why you guys are here? Because everyone was storming into his office and he was like, why are you guys here? And then I was like, because of this. He was asking us, why are you guys here? And then I was like, okay, she told us to come here. And he wanted to know the reason. I was trying to tell the reason, but then he was on the phone. He took
was on the phone with someone else, is
No,
it?
he wanted to know the reason, but then he was like, I want to know the reason. So then I was about to say the reason. Then he took the phone and he was on the call. He tried to make the call
To whom?
to the person that wanted us there.
Okay, so somebody told you all to come to the office.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he wanted to know the reason why we were in the office.
Okay.
So then but then the person told me why we were in the office. So then I wanted to quickly tell it to him.
But he is already on the phone. So while he's on the phone, you're telling him.
No, it was like a matter of seconds. Like he was already taking the phone, and he was like, okay. And I was like, I know the reason. No, you don't need to call her.
And but so
The other
How-
was like,
how-
shush.
yeah. So how would you think it would look like for the rest of them when they are okay? All now everybody's called in there and he's asking. No one volunteers. You volunteer, but then anyway he takes the phone to find out why this, and then while he's on the phone, you're continuing. You're saying, okay, no, but I already know. You don't need to
I was
call.
like, you don't need to call. It's okay.
So you have to think of the previous day also, as much as you have a preconceived idea that no one is listening and you're trying to get a point through. How would it feel like from their minds, when again everybody is there and you're trying to get a point through? And you said that okay, it became a joke in the previous day, and now here they're thinking, oh my goodness, Denver. I'm just asking, okay, these are questions I'm asking. I'm thinking, okay, if I'm them, how would I think? Okay, Denver, we know what you know, but the principal wants to know and he's calling up. So why do you have to insist on saying what you know? And so that's why he says, okay, shush, in what tone did he say shush? How did he say, what was behind his motive? There can be so many different.
his is another guy, right? Just basic. It's not David who said shush.
No, I know that.
Oh, okay.
It's a boy who you got angry with
Yeah, the previous day. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
David is on the phone. You're telling David while he's on the phone that you already know what by all you don't need to call because you already know the reason why you all have been sent to the office.
So right before he was on the call, so he was just about to take the phone and I was like, no, you don't need to know.
Yeah, but so he still did know, and then
Yeah.
you're still going on. So then, how does it look for the others? How do you think? How would you think it would look like? Think of it from their point of view, if you're on their side.
It's a very casual kind of atmosphere with things, so I don't think it's very serious. But it was, others were not very involved with the conversation. They were having their own little chats with each other, but then it was just like me, Sir David, and another two boys, including that guy who made me upset. So it was just like.
So how would you reduce the upset feeling of upset? What would you think about it that could reduce it from being angry? Because you're carrying what is the previous day.
Yeah.
They are carrying from the previous day was a joke or whatever that
they
were quite like
yeah.
So that was, so they were jokes. So now for them here again, it's like, oh, there's Denver.
Well, I knew it was a joke, but I'm still frustrated that they made it a joke. So I'm like,
So the thing is, how can you reduce your frustration and anger and move more towards your values, which is respect, where you would respect them, respect David, respect yourself in that situation? What could you have done differently?
So what I did was I screamed "shut up" in front of everyone, and then I stormed out.
And how did that help you in terms of your values?
It made me way more upset. I was like, and then I went to the other office and I was like, okay, calm down, then. But then I don't think there's no point of calming myself down after leaving the room after throwing a tantrum. Yeah.
So did it help you? Did that thought that came into your head and the emotion that you felt, was it congruent with your values?
No.
So that's what I'm asking. So how can you reframe something so that it would help you? See, what we think is how we end up feeling. It affects our feelings. And then we act based on how we feel. So at that moment you thought he's just too much.
Yeah.
Right? Again he's trying to stop me from saying what I have to say,
Yeah.
which is a this thing of your previous day's
Yeah.
experience. So you're using that, you're making a connection. So he's being disrespectful. I'm going to show him who I say. I'm going to tell him to shut up. And then I'm going to storm out of here. What happens is, because you're angry, you act out on your anger. So what kind of thought how could you reframe this thought of yours that he's probably just trying to press all my buttons, or he doesn't get me and he's trying to stop me from saying it again, saying what I have to say again, and not giving me a chance to speak? And that makes you angry. How can you reframe that thought
I don't know.
to give you a less hot response?
I probably say to myself that I'm more mature than he is. I try to put him down a little in my head. I don't know, is that going to work?
Does it help you respect yourself, but how does it help respect him?
Okay.
If you are using your values, okay, look at your values. How would you create more respect towards each other, but also help you calm down?
Okay, so
And communicate also more effectively than being just saying shut up and you walk off.
So maybe I can add to that by like saying, okay, he's not as mature as I am, so probably I should just take it calm and then probably just speak to him maybe and tell that this did not make me very upset, making sure that my emotions were clear and not to just, I don't know, express it in other forms, but to just communicate with him, saying that okay, this was not very, I I don't know, it did not make me feel very good. Something like that, being open. to
And
a
also
person.
thinking, if you think, okay, he's not as mature as I am, so
It's
he
okay.
probably, they say, or maybe he's had a bad day and he's annoyed that he has had to come to the office as well. And maybe he just wants to get to the, without you interfering, and then him to say what it is and let the principal do his job. And so maybe he's had a bad day, or he's been short this thing, or whatever, annoyed that he has had to come to office and had to miss out on whatever he was doing. So many things. And so because of that, your feelings towards him change,
I
isn't
can
it?
assume good things about not the negative. So assumption is good,
Assu-
but it should not.
no, but the thing, assumption is you have to understand that assumption.